And welcome to another episode of the Lowco Rundown. I'm your host, Carlo Perruzza. Today we have a jam-packed show for you. We're going to get to some highlights from around the Lowco. It's highlight time. Head Island Lady Seahawks hosted a regional matchup against the crosstown rival Bluffton Bobcats Friday night. The Seahawks got it going early as Miley Ray receives the basket and drives hard to the net for the score. Bobcats would respond as Cassandra Gray scoops up the rebound and converts the bucket. Seahawks try to get back into this thing as Mackenzie Ryan pulls up for the jumper and makes it splash. But the Bobcats came to win Friday night. Kaylee Washington storms hard to the basket and lays it in for the score. Then it's Tatiana Aiken rushing the basket for the layup. Bobcats take this one big, 54-36. After the game, I caught up with head coach Lonnie Roberts.
I thought we played well. We was doing some different things. It was, second time playing a rivalry. Last time, I think I don't even know what the score was, but it was pretty close. That's one thing about local rivalries. You can't dictate some things, and, sometimes kids feel so much pressure from each other, friends, family, and everybody else. But I thought we played really well.
The Bluffton boys were in action as well Friday night looking for the win. They look for the three ball early as Tyler Rice pulls up and drains the corner three. Then the Seahawks would respond as Aaron Farrell shows he can hit the three ball as well. Bluffton kept pressing as Kylon Simmons gets the floater to fall for the bucket. But this was the Seahawks' night as Dean Seelbach converts on the three. Possessions later, Gaston Moore receives the pass and banks it in. Seahawks take this one 35-24. After the game, I caught up with head coach Shane Brown and Sam Suma.
I was satisfied. We came out, we played tough defense. What we always want to do is play good defense, and we made the adjustment in the second half and to help us extend the lead.
It was great atmosphere. We had so many students here supporting. They brought so many students. It was just really live, and it was a ton of fun to play in.
Now, with the Super Bowl tonight, we have a very, very special piece. I had the pleasure to interview NFL great Ken Anderson, who actually played in a Super Bowl and won an NFL MVP. Let's get to meet Mr. Anderson. Welcome back to the Lowco Rundown. I'm now joined with a very, very special guest, former NFL quarterback Ken Anderson. Mr. Anderson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
No problem. So, Super Bowl. Big game coming up. Everyone's extremely excited. You actually had the opportunity to play in one. Can you just talk about how special of a moment that is?
Well, it was the first one in Cincinnati history, so that was a great thing for the Bengals. And, we had played the week before in the championship game against the San Diego Chargers, and what I say is the coldest game in NFL history. It was 59 degrees below zero. And then I think one of the, we got beat in our Super Bowl. We played the San Francisco 49ers. I think we were both 6-10 the year before. Nobody expected us to be there. It was an interesting one because when I got to Cincinnati, Bill Walsh was my first quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, and we were going into the game, and he was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. So there was that connection to go along with that game. We were the first Super Bowl to be in a northern climate. And I always think, boy, if I'm going to go to the Super Bowl, man, California, Arizona, New Orleans, Florida. No, we went to Pontiac, Michigan for that game. And it was interesting. And you go there, and I remember, you try to talk yourself into that it's just another game. And then we're out there, we completed warm-ups, and we're there for the national anthem, and Diana Ross was singing the national anthem. She never showed up in Cincinnati. This must be a special game. And then to go out, and we were down 20-0 at halftime. We had, I think in the first half, we had 5 turnovers. And, you can't win any game like that. And we ended up getting beat 26-21. It was the first Super Bowl where the losing team had more touchdowns than the winning team, had more yards passing, more first downs than the winning team, or the winning team. But unfortunately, I said we had 5 turnovers, and that cost us the game.
You've been out of the league for a while now. In which ways do you think the league and the game has changed?
Well, it's opening up to the passing game so much more. I remember when I came into the league, if quarterbacks, threw the ball 18, 20 times a game, it was a lot because offensive linemen had to keep their arms within the framework of their body. They couldn't extend them or it was a holding penalty. Well, so it was hard, it's hard to pass block that way, so you didn't see quarterbacks throwing that much. And once they changed the rules, the game started to open up. And then now today's, you're seeing, so many 3-4 wide receivers, so much of the shotgun formation. Teams talking about the run-pass options that the quarterbacks have. And I think it's a fun game. When you look at, especially one of the quarterbacks this week, Patrick Mahomes, is taking full advantage of it.
And you talked about the offense a little bit. Do you think the offense have changed even in youth and high school football?
I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing it at the professional level. When you look at the college game, and there's so much of the RPOs that they're doing, and I think that falls down into the youth area in high school, and then from high school into the youth football, that things are more wide open. And so, when the NFL, you're looking for quarterbacks, you get them from the college ranks, and what are these college quarterbacks good at? And they're in the shotgun and running spread offenses. So the NFL teams, you go the Arizona Cardinals taking Kyler Murray last year with the number one pick in the draft, and they've kind of adopted that. So I think most NFL offenses are getting some form of that. You go to the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, even in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton, all of a sudden he surprises you. There he goes. He's pulling the ball out, and he's keeping it. So I think it's a much more exciting game that way.
And do you think that is going to stay like this? Do you think this is just the future for the offense in the NFL, this type of offense?
Yeah, I think it's going to do nothing but get more high scoring. You looked at one of the first playoff games when Kansas City was playing Houston, and they're down 24-0 at the end of the first quarter. Well, this game's over. Well, they scored 51 unanswered points and won by 20. So, I think the fans like it. I think if you look at the popularity of the NFL, the TV listings and the ratings are higher than they've ever been. So I think it's going to continue.
In addition to scoring touchdowns, another thing that the fans really like is the hard-hitting tackling of the sport. It seems lately that the game may be under attack because parents, they're kind of getting concerned with injuries such as concussions, and they're not sure if they want their kids to play football. Do you feel the game is under attack because of this?
Well, I think there's a concern for it, and certainly the NFL is doing all they can to make it safer. Back in my day, you could hit the quarterback in the head as long as it wasn't late. There's highlight films after highlight films of defensive backs laying out wide receivers trying to go across the middle. So now, they're if you're a defenseless player, they're really watching it out. They're making the game safer, which I'm all for. I think where the concern is probably at the youth level. I've always been of the opinion that if you keep the players the same age and the same size that are playing against each other, they're not going to get hurt any worse playing football than they are messing around in the backyard. If you look at the situation, the number of concussions in soccer, the number of concussions of kids falling off bikes, there's always a concern when you're a kid. But I think I would not be concerned to have my son play football today. As I said, as long as it's the same age, it's the same weight. And I think another big factor is the coaching. Sometimes you see the youth coaches, everyone thinks that they're Vince Lombardi, and how much can we hit and how much can we do this? And, it's almost not fun for the kids nowadays. So, but I think youth football will always survive.
Last question for you, Mr. Anderson. So we have many athletes here in the Low Country in Beaufort County in all different sports, and many of them want to pursue their dreams of playing in college or playing at the professional level. What advice would you give them in order for them to pursue their dreams?
Well, one of the things that I've always been in favor of, and it's very hard today if you're a high school athlete, is play more than one sport. When I was in high school, I played football, I played basketball, I played baseball, and I think all three sports complemented each other. I had a good release playing football. Well, that's because I was a catcher in baseball. I learned to throw the ball over the top so it wouldn't tail off, try to throw out a runner at second base. I was a guard in basketball, and the footwork for playing defense and the shuffling, that translated into my footwork and that of playing quarterback. I think now with youth teams and traveling teams, especially in basketball and baseball, sometimes it's tough to play more than one sport. But I think at that age, you got to remember it is a sport. It's supposed to be fun. Enjoy it. Work hard, but expand your horizons as well.
Mr. Anderson, thank you so much for giving us your time. Well, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back right here for the Lowco Rundown. And that's it for this week. We'll be back Thursday with highlights and feature stories. Until then, keep it dialed in right here to LocoSports.com.